What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's Jessica here, wellness coach, career consultant for 20-somethings. Welcome back to another episode of Career Coaching with Jessness. Today's episode is a little bit different than the typical how do you find a job, how do you prep for an interview, how do you write a resume, that kind of thing. Because I'm always looking for and tapping into my listeners and my audience, and they come up with questions of their own, topics and suggestions that they want to hear more about. So this one's a little bit different than outside of the norm, and it has to relate with creating a social presence online as an entrepreneur and a business owner. So this episode is going to be going over 3 big fears in going big on social media. And these fears are ones that I have experienced and also have witnessed in other people. You know, as kind of a serial lifelong learner myself, I'm always looking to sign up on the next webinar that I see, get the free social resources out there, and you know, I'm constantly learning from other people. So these are also things that I've seen in friends and that are looking to grow their own business. So this one's a little bit more of a business strategy and focus around small business ownership, creating a brand. But I think there's an audience for it, and I thought this was a great question and one that I had a lot of passion towards. So we're going to be going over the 3 big fears, and I'll straight up tell you guys that the 3 big fears, one is that I will run out of content. Right? And if you thought about even just creating any kind of thing online, whether it be a blog or start a social media channel around a certain topic, you know, that's one of the initial scares and fears that I had, is that, gosh, if I start this, I might run out of stuff to say, right? And so the second thing that I'll go over is I can't keep up. I can't keep up. Social media is moving so fast. I'm barely sleeping now anyway. How am I going to keep up? And if it's ever increasing from here on out, how am I ever going to sustain that and also, you know, move with that speed in which it's going? And then the third fear that comes up with going big on social media is blending in. You know, if I go big, if I put myself out there, what if I just don't stand out? What if I blend in? What if I'm just one of the rest of the people, and all of this effort, all of this time, all of this money and just thoughts and just energy is going to waste. So we're going to cover those 3 big fears, and I'm going to give you some tips, strategies, and just kind of an overall kind of pep talk about how you can move through this in order to go big in your own social media channels and really step into that limelight that you absolutely deserve, and then create new opportunities and new growth, just paths and career paths to step into your greatest potential, okay? So diving in first to the first fear, in that I will run out of content. This is something that I started my blog in 2011, and I used to kind of hoard some of my content, right? I'd have an idea, I'd have a series idea of posts that I wanted to do, whether it be on social media or in actual articles on my website, and I would kind of hoard them and keep them in a central location. Because I was fearful that I would run out of content. I'd wake up one day and go, God, I'm just out of ideas. That's it. And, you know, it's one of those things that I think it's our mind clutter gets in the way of our ness. And our ness, if you're new here, is your inner voice of wisdom that you're born with, that inner gut feeling that urges you to do something that scares the crap out of you. It's that voice that says, start the blog. Start it. Start writing. But it's your mind that kind of interferes with that and says, but you may run out. You may run out of things to say, and then what? You're going to look stupid. You're going to look, you know, you're out there. You put yourself out there, and then, you know, it's just you're out there for all to judge and all of the other people to judge and all of that. When if you have that tiny voice inside you, if you have that voice, if your ness is inspiring you to put yourself out there in any kind of social media way, blog, YouTube, Facebook Live, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Vine is, well, no longer here, but you know, there's so many different avenues now for social media. If you have that little tiny voice inside you, go with it. Trust it. And I'm saying this from experience, you will never run out of content. You are a creative, beautiful human being, and if you have that inner voice that's urging you to get content out and you have something to say, do it, and just go with it. And don't hoard content like I did. And, the kind of cliche advice is just do it, not to quote Nike or anything, but, in order to go big on social media, it's going to require you to take a risk. It's going to require you to push that fear aside and just go for it. And push aside whatever is holding you back, whether it be content or what you're saying, right? It's not just like, oh, I might run out of content, but what if what I'm saying doesn't resonate? That doesn't matter. If it's within you and you feel inspired by it, go for it. So that's kind of the first fear I'd like to address. The second fear is I can't keep up. Gosh, it's like we're never off, right? We're never off anymore. It's like, oh yeah, they're on PTO. It's like, yeah, right. There's no such thing. Our emails are tied to our phone. People can text us at any time of any day. If you're working for a global company, you possibly could be on call all hours. So those are all things. And so when you're looking to start your own business and you're looking to go big, there is going to be that feeling, especially if you're working full time right now, and that, gosh, if I barely can keep up with my full time job, how am I supposed to keep up with this social media world that just technology is changing every 24 hours? It seems like there's something new coming out, doesn't it? I listened to a Hootsuite webinar recently, and they talked about how just video and just social media and e-commerce platforms are just growing at just exponentially, and it's amazing. So I resonate with your feeling of I just can't keep up, but there are tools and there are support out there, just all sorts of stuff. So one of the tools that I use is Buffer. Buffer is a social media management platform where you can manage multiple social media accounts from a centralized location. Now, Buffer has been around for a long time. This probably isn't new to you. If you were drawn to this episode, you're like, duh, Buffer. But, getting organized within a platform like Buffer is really, really important, because I use Buffer myself for my own business, just as required. But, there's a lot of other strategy that you can really use. You can use it as a calendar, an editorial calendar. You can use it as a content schedule, right? And hold yourself accountable to it and have all of your social media accounts tied to it. And then boom, it's just automated, right? It's automated. It's going while you sleep, essentially. But Buffer's one that I use and trust, and their support team is absolutely amazing. And I know I mentioned Hootsuite, which is amazing. Hootsuite is mainly for, at least from my understanding and from the webinars that I've sat on with Hootsuite, it seems like it's more of an enterprise level kind of tool. So if you're a large corporation, or if you're anything other than kind of a small business from 2 to 5 people, or if you're just like me and you run your own business, Hootsuite probably wouldn't be the right fit. It'd be more for those large companies. But either one, I've heard really great things. It's just kind of what you're interested in, you got to play around with it a little bit. But there's a lot of tools to help you automate your social media. And it's not the end all be all by any means, because as technology fast forwards and goes faster and faster, and there's new technologies coming out, and it's just, the human connection is getting kind of lost in some of the process. So while these automated systems and tools for business are out there, it's not something you want to strictly rely on wholeheartedly. You still want to hop on Facebook Live. You still want to hop on Snapchat and talk to your audience as a human. That human-to-human connection, even if it's not in person, you want that video. You want to be able to, tweet something live, get responses, and then immediately, within the next 5 or 10 minutes, respond back to them so that they know that you're a human, real person. Because I think with just technology in general, people are more and more skeptical of, is this a robot? Is this an automated response? People are getting more savvy, which is great. But you also need to not move too quickly to a point where you're no longer part of the picture. Like your face, your live presence online, even though it's not in person, your live presence is still there. So that's really important. So, and then the third tip, in regards to managing fear when it comes to just stepping out taking a risk, putting your business out there and going big on social media, really allowing yourself to be seen, is the fear of blending in. Blending in. And it's something that I've noticed a lot over the last couple years, is that, gosh, it seems like people are trying to really just be as out there as possible. And I'm all about being unique and weird. And if you follow me on Snapchat at Justness Snaps, then of course you know my quirky, funny side. I that'll always be part of me. But it's I definitely feel like there's a balance between being your authentic self and then just trying too hard. You know what I mean? But then there's also, on the flip side of that, in regards to this fear, it's like, gosh, there's so much of that stuff, of people putting themselves too out there, and there's lots of noise out on social media. There can be a fear of, gosh, if I'm just going to be blending in. So something that I personally dealt with is, it's easy to sit at home, do a lot of your posts, and then look at some of your, not necessarily competitors, but maybe friends that are in the same friends that are in the same space as you, industry, or maybe, like for me, right? I have a lot of friends that are also life coaches. I don't have too many friends that are career coaches, but life coaches, wellness coaches. But they're all part of that community where you're one-on-one coaching people. But there's that fear of like, gosh, if I look at their profile, I'll feel like I'm blending in too much. And some of the risks in that, in just kind of looking too much and comparing yourself to other people's profiles that are in the same space as you, is that you could potentially pick up on their stuff. You could potentially, it's like when you read a book. I'm currently writing a book. It's called Your 20s. There's 5 sections: self-love, career, relationships, healthy mind, body acceptance, self-love, relationships, healthy mind, career, and body acceptance. And so the 5 sections, all come from my heart, my soul. But I had to really put my book reading on pause, kind of my podcast listening on pause, for people in the same exact space as me, because I didn't want to pick up on other people's stuff. And that may happen if you're too immersed in comparing yourself to other people's social media accounts or other people's strategies, or listening to too many webinars. There's a point where you're going to have to just jump. There's a point where you're going to have to tell yourself, you know what? I've learned enough for now to take the first step. And there's always going to be the next step to take. And it doesn't have to be a sprint. It just has to be a step. So if you're feeling overwhelmed in just feeling like you may blend in too much, it could be possibly that you're watching, listening, and comparing your content to other people and what they're doing in their campaigns. And from my own experience, I always found myself comparing myself to people that are just like been in the space for like 10 years, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm on my 3rd year. And I'm like, gosh, I should really be like Pat Flynn from Smart Online Passive, or I forget what it is. Smart Passive on. See, this is how long I haven't listened to his stuff, because there was that fear of, if you listen too much to other people's stuff, you will pick up on it to a point where it won't feel as natural. It won't feel as comfortable or authentic, because naturally, subconsciously, as humans, we all are going to connect regardless. We're always going to connect. But if you're not aware of how much you're listening to other people's stuff, you could be unconsciously picking up on other people's stuff, phrases, sayings, whatever. But, something to keep in mind. The other thing is just not hearing your own inner wisdom. And I can relate to this. Gosh, I've been recruiting engineers for over 4 years now, which has, I think, really transformed my brain into more of a technically savvy person, more of a logistical, and just someone that's looking at things from a logic standpoint, rather than feeling touchy-feely, what's your gut say, that kind of thing. And I truly believe that I was born here on earth to teach people that you are born with this internal guidance, this internal voice, nest that will never lead you astray if you follow it. But you have to tap into that. You have to make time for it. And no one is like you. No one is like you, and no one will tap into that inner nest voice and guidance the same. We all have a different way of connecting with it. One way that I connect with it is yoga. If I'm not doing yoga consistently, I feel a little bit off balance. I feel mental clutter. I feel like I'm picking up on other people's stuff. I feel like I'm comparing extra. I'm maybe drinking too much. I'm maybe not choosing the best healthy mind, body, spirit healthy choices for me. So it's, when you're consumed with everyone else's stuff, you're not truly connected, and you don't leave space to connect with your own inner voice, which is going to guide you to what to post, what is going to authentically connect with your audience. And that's going to guide you to what can I post here to really make an impact? What is my audience needing? And if you're consumed with other stuff outside of your audience, and that's going to just bring you away from what truly your audience needs, and listening to them, being present with them. And, it's one of the things that I've truly embraced. Like, what does my audience need? What does Career Coaching with Jessness audience need? And that shift from, I don't have to be like everyone else, and I'm not going to blend in because I'm not too focused on everyone else's strategy and content. So those are the 3 fears. And, those are the 3 overall fears: running out of content, keeping up with today's social media speed, and then the fear of blending in. And I'll leave you with this last thought, in that no one is like you. No one. Whether you're doing a blog, you're starting your own business, or you're creating your own personal brand within your own career, no one is like you. Weirder the better. Get weird, express yourself, be authentic. There's so many times every day that I say something and I'm like, I might have been crossing the line, but I say it, and I can just physically and energetically see the other person relax and open up. So be the first person to open up, because people are waiting for it. If you are the first to open up and create a safe place for that, other people will follow, and you'll become a leader in that area. And it's worth taking time for yourself to truly figure out how you connect to your own voice, how you connect to your own message. What are you solving for your clients, future clients, potential, current, doesn't matter. What problem are you solving? What value and support do you bring to the people that are looking for you? Because absolutely, if you are drawn to this podcast, and if you are drawn to this episode specifically, you are here to help the world. And you will do that because you're a determined person. So if you liked this episode, I encourage you to leave a review on the iTunes review, the podcast area. It helps for more people to find the podcast, and more people to get the help and just kind of tips that I'm open to sharing with the world. And in turn, I essentially get to help more people, which I truly feel like I was born to do, helping people and helping them find their voice, connect with their voice, and express their voice. So I hope this was helpful. I love you guys. If you have any questions, you can always send me a Snapchat at Jessness Snaps. All of my social accounts are below, so feel free to reach out to those. Snapchat is the easiest and quickest way if my battery doesn't die. I hope Snapchat figures out a way to not have it take any battery. But trust me, I always have an external battery charger, so I'll never miss a question or anything like that. Thank you for listening, and let me know. Let me know what you think. If you have any comments, takeaways, additional questions, whatever, I'd love to hear them, because I'm ultimately here for you guys. So with that, have a great rest of your week, and until next time. Sure.